Hey there, beautiful people. This is Lindy Ford, registered dietitian, clinical and licensed nutritionist, and nutrition detective. Saturated fat is not the evil that we once thought it was. I don't want you to fear the fat anymore. Some of you, I think you've died and gone to heaven. You're hearing angel voices right now because we have all been told for about 40 years that saturated fat is evil. We have to avoid it, and that we have to avoid it for heart disease, and all of that is a myth. We need to let that myth die, because it is not true, and it has not been helping us one bit. Heart disease is on the rise, so is a lot of other diseases associated with heart disease, and it's bad, and we need to get over ourselves. Now, what I want to do right now is just do a quick chemistry review. I don't want to belabor this. I just want to go over what we went over last time, because to explain saturated fat, you kind of have to understand what it's made of. So saturated fat has no double bond, so it actually makes it even more stable. Remember that for later, right? It's more stable. All the carbon atoms are fully saturated with hydrogen atoms, so that makes it solid at room temperature. But it does not cause heart disease. Saturated fat does raise LDL cholesterol. Now let me explain this a little bit, okay? Because this is something that's really so important for all of us to really wrap our arms around and to understand, minds around more than our arms, but to understand, right? LDL cholesterol, we've always thought about it as the lousy cholesterol, but that's not entirely true either. First of all, LDL is low density lipoprotein. It's actually a protein. It's the protein that carries the cholesterol, not the cholesterol itself. And it actually has different components to it. So one component of it is these large, fluffy lipoproteins, okay? And that is what saturated fat increases. Well, they are not associated with heart disease or any other disease for that matter. Now, the very low or very small particles, and those are the small particles that are dense and that can easily penetrate the arterial walls, they are associated with heart disease. Those are the ones that you want to keep really low. And those are the ones that I watch in my patients, as well as myself, because I've got heart disease in every branch of my family tree. So the very low density lipoproteins are the ones that are really do affect you, but that's not even the whole picture of heart disease. There's much more to it than that. It's really about inflammation. So that's why I always have my patients get blood work done. I always get a C-reactive protein, homocysteine, which are inflammatory markers that really do kind of give you a better picture of what's going on with the your arteries and what's going on with heart disease. But the thing about it is that saturated fat does not raise your VLDL or your very low density lipoproteins, which are the ones that are associated with heart disease. So that is really a myth. And let me tell you something, guys. This is another thing that everybody needs to realize, that saturated fat and cholesterol are not the same thing. Cholesterol is only from animal products. So if it had a mother, it has a liver, then it may have cholesterol, okay? But saturated fat can even be like a plant source, like avocados and coconut have saturated fat in them. So they're two different things too. But just remember that saturated fat does not increase the bad cholesterol. So cholesterol actually has some good properties. I actually get very nervous if my patient's cholesterol gets too low, or if mine were to get too low, because you can't synthesize sex hormones, your brain doesn't work very well. Cholesterol is very important for many physiological functions. So just remember that. Now, there are two studies that I have looked at about this whole saturated fat myth. And they're actually reviews. They're not even, they're a compilation of a whole bunch of studies. One of them was in 2010, and this is a massive review of 21 studies. Now listen to this. 348,000 participants in this study. And there was no correlation between saturated fat and cholesterol. Then there was another review done in 2014, and that was with 76 studies, and get this, 643,000 people were studied. no correlation again between saturated fat and heart disease. And then there's a big one. There's the Framingham heart study. If you look at that, that's a study that is done generationally, has been done for 40 years of study participants. I think we're down to the grandchildren or the great-grandchildren now. And that is also finding no correlation between saturated fat and heart disease. All right, we need to just lay that myth down. We need to kill it, okay? This is craziness. Stop the bad science. It was bad research to begin with in the 1950s and 60s with Ansel Keys. And in 1977, we made it public policy, and it was never proven. There were only a few animal studies, and it was never proven. So what do we know, guys? The main cause of heart disease. Y'all should probably know this after listening to me rant and rave for so many videos, right? The main causes of heart disease is a high carbohydrate diet. And also, we're going to add on the fact that polyunsaturates, we use way too much of them in this country. We talked about that. Go back and look at that video about polyunsaturated omega-6, not omega-3s, they're heart protective, omega-6 fatty acids. And that is the corn and vegetable and soybean oils of the world. We eat like way too much of them, folks. We have to reduce them greatly or even take them out of our diet. You add in stress, you add in genetics, and you've got this perfect storm of heart disease. So it's mainly inflammation, raising of the blood sugars, which we're doing way too much by, eating our little bagel for breakfast and our orange juice and drinking our orange juice. It's all those things, plus it's adding those polyunsaturates and stress to our lives. And I just want to tell you a couple of the benefits of saturated fats, because there really are some benefits. And then I'm going to give you some caveats, because I'm not asking you folks to eat sticks and sticks of butter, okay? But you can eat butter, and I want you to eat butter, but I want you to eat a certain kind, okay? So there are benefits of saturated fats. One of the big ones is, I kind of mentioned it before, remember, it doesn't have that double bond, so it's very stable at high heat. So you can heat it, and that's why you can cook with coconut oil and butter, and it's fine. And so it doesn't oxidize, and it doesn't go rancid, it doesn't turn into a free radical, okay? So that's a really good thing. And also it has lots of nutrition in it. Remember, saturated fats can be avocados or coconut as well. So there is saturated fat in the plant world. But if you go to the animal world to get your saturated fat, there's good sources, they're really good sources and nutritious sources of saturated fats, like grass-fed animals, okay? I'm a big believer in grass-fed. That is the way that animals are supposed to eat, and it's the way they're supposed to behave. All right, and so and then also grass-fed dairy. They have much more, remember, of that conjugated linoleic acid, which it's a type of a fat that is very protective of your heart, and they have much more omega-3s in them. The other thing too is, please, no low-fat dairy. Just stop it. Just say no. Just say no to skim milk. Say no to 2% and all this crazy stuff. Really good grass-fed or organic dairy is fine in moderation, right? And also it makes the food taste good. It provides satiety to your meals. You're not hungry an hour after you eat a saturated fat, so that there's goodness there as well. But this is the caveat. This is a big caveat. You might think right now, oh, she's a spokesperson for Atkins. I'm really not. That's not what I'm saying, guys. I'm not saying to make your whole meal about eating steak with butter and then adding some bacon and some pork chops, okay? That's not the way I eat, and that's not the way I have my patients eat, okay? Some saturated fat on your plate is fine. It's heart protective. It's great. But most of that plate, half to 3/4 of that plate, should be those low sugar or low glycemic veggies. I'm going to say it over and over again. I'm going to say it till I die. I am just going to beat it to death. We have to get more of those veggies, because the animal products don't have the fiber, they don't have the minerals, and they're also very high in acidity. And you want to balance that plate out. And so you're going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to feel full, you're going to feel good, and you're going to get tons of nutrition. So that's the way, it really is the best way to approach your meals. And I just want to thank you today for honoring me with your time. I know that I hope I set some of you free. I just hope I set some of you free. I hope you can go out and eat a steak and not feel guilty anymore. Please don't feel guilty. I would pass on the bread, but eat the steak, right? With a big old salad, some broccoli on the side. Sounds like a great meal to me. So anyway, hey guys, subscribe to me on this YouTube channel. I would be so honored if you would do that. Also follow me on Facebook, Lindy Ford Nutrition and Wellness, and like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, and thank you so much. And remember that everybody deserves to be optimally healthy. Thanks for watching.